On October 28, 1974, Walter E. Bennett was born. Allegedly, his parents were so deep in the streets that they couldn't have him at a traditional hospital. They had to have him at home. He was brought into the world with the assistance of a midwife, and he was born on silk sheets, thereby giving him the nickname Silk. Silk was from Ada Park. His last known address was 112th and Loomis. He had a peculiar love for sports, specifically basketball. According to what I've heard, Silk was a beast on the court and probably could have went somewhere if he'd have chose basketball over the streets. Silk learned how to hustle at a young age from his parents. He was also around guys like Big Reggie from Ada Park, who was his stepdad. He was known to be a millionaire. He learned not to trust nobody and to move by himself, especially when it was time to do dirt. Silk would end up becoming a millionaire himself after doing 9 years in Menard Correctional. He was well respected in the joint and held it down for the BDs, so he was given a seat within the Black Disciples organization when he got out. As a ranking BD member, Silk ran the BD building in the Robert Taylors, and this is when he really started running up a check. According to the streets, Silk had a car fetish. He would get all the newest rides. He would come through and shut the block down. He was a ladies' man as well. He allegedly walked around with a key ring with different keys to different women's houses on him, sort of a Rolling Stone, so to speak, and he had 7 kids to prove it. He was also reportedly a stand-up guy who helped people in his community and also had a big heart. I can recall one story where Silk went to his ops neighborhood to see a girl. Silk pulled up to a block full of ops, standing on each corner of that block. He got out and talked to his girl for about an hour while his ops watched him. Silk was almost daring them to make a move. Silk was definitely a neighborhood superstar, but just like he had a lot of people that loved him, he also had a lot of people that hated him and wanted to see him gone. And on July 31st, 2005, on a Sunday, Silk would end up losing his life. Silk went to the rink on 87th Street and was caught outside after leaving. According to what I've heard, he had hit a stain on the guy for some bricks, and the guy had put a hit on him. King Von was on 11 when his dad passed. On August 9th, 1994, a king was born. From kindergarten to the 8th grade, King Von was a killer ward baby. He came up on 78th and Hermitage and went to Barton Elementary School. During his younger years, he would get in trouble for petty stuff like stealing and fighting, but he also loved to play sports like his father, Silk. He was also a ladies' man like his father. It wasn't until he started going to Hyde Park that the streets really consumed him. He ended up moving to O Block around 2008. That's pretty much where he really started making a name for himself in the streets. He ended up becoming best friends with T. Roy, who was definitely one of the most vicious, up-and-coming youngsters that was in the streets. Boss Top, who also had a lot of respect in the O, was his big cousin. Looking back on it, King Von aligned himself with straight killers from O Block to 600 to THL to Front Street and even the following NLMB. The apple didn't fall far from the tree when it came to being locked up. King Von, just like his dad, went to jail a lot, even being so young. But in 2014, after only being out for 8 months, King Von would end up being locked up for the unaliving of Malcolm Stuckey and the attempted unaliving of 2 others. On Interstate 94, 3 miles straight west of the Museum of Science and Industry, where Stuckey worked, vacant lots and rundown houses dotted that block in a neighborhood that whites had fled as blacks started to move in decades ago. Before Stuckey arrived for an afternoon birthday party for LaMinda Jones' son, Davon Bennett, a member of the Black Disciples gang, already was on site. He was chatting up other party guests until he spotted 2 rival gang members at the house and took off. "Don't start no mess in my house," Jones, who was cooking for that celebration, told Bennett. Witnesses said in police interviews, Bennett said he wasn't planning to cause trouble. "I'm not on that." He smiled at Jones, then left the house. But Bennett, a 19-year-old rapper known as King Von, who had been in and out of jail since he was 16, didn't let it go. He left the party, grabbed a friend, and told the party goer on the phone that he'd be back. "Take the children inside," he said. He returned to LaSalle Street with a .40 caliber Smith & Wesson purchased 2 months earlier in Mississippi by Jonathan Smalley, who'd amassed 32 guns in the Natchez area from 2009 to 2016. Chicago police recovered 11 of them, including Bennett, in their city, according to federal charges filed against Smalley in 2016. Stuckey, who friends and relatives said wasn't in the gang, had just arrived at the party when Bennett and fellow Black disciple Michael Wade got out of a friend's Oldsmobile Alero a block away. Stuckey and other partygoers planned to shoot hoops nearby before returning to eat the food Jones had been preparing. As Bennett and Wade cut through an alley behind the house, Stuckey stepped onto the sidewalk to smoke a cigar. One of Bennett's rivals looked up and saw Bennett and Wade approaching the house. He fled. Firing at him as he ran, Bennett chased that rival toward LaSalle Street, prosecutors told the jury. By the time Wade got to the front of the house, Stuckey was face down on the grass between the sidewalk and street, bleeding out. He died in his work uniform. "Why you running?" Bennett had shouted while chasing his rivals. According to Wade's police interviews, he and Wade kept firing. Wade hit one man in the foot. Bennett shot the other in the face, breaking his jaw. A few moments later, the two were speeding away in the Alero. Stuckey was declared unalive at the scene at 6:09 p.m. Detectives notified his mother a few hours later. The other two shooting victims survived. "He was supposed to be on his way to see me," said childhood friend Deontay Willis, who lived down the street from Stuckey. He had stopped answering the phone. King Von ended up doing 3 years and some change in the county before ultimately beating his charge, while his co-defendant Big Mike, who just recently got out, received a 28-year sentence. While in the county, King Von was beating people left and right, which only added to his no-nonsense reputation. When he got out in December of 2017, he chilled for a minute before he started rapping.
Putting out these last pins.
Bitch, find out, bitch. How y'all coming? How y'all coming?
This is my car right here. Yeah.
According to Von, he had to find something to do because he was tired of asking people for stuff. His rap career would have almost instant success. With his reputation and Durk's backing, the world fell in love with the younger Silk. People from all over the world began to embrace him. Some people even think that if he would have had a little longer in the land of the living, he would have surpassed Smurf. But on November 6, 2020, his life was cut short outside of a hookah lounge in Atlanta. It's fascinating how a person could come out the womb and look exactly like their father and live a life similar to his father's. Have the same mannerisms, demeanor, attitude and all, but never really knew him. So many similarities from the way they lived to the way they died. It kind of makes you wonder, is it really true that God has a plan for all of us from the beginning to the end? If so, I hope that he plans on making my son 10 times better than me. This has been another SN TV production. It's your boy, SN TV. I'm out.